Hi, my name is Jessica Wohlfarth, and this is my video book presentation for ED 216 for Professor Smith, Spring 2013. The book I've chosen is How Do Apples Grow by Betsy Maestro. This book covers the core curriculum standard 1, reading to inform, read closely to determine what the text says explicitly and to make inferences, and cite specific textual evidence when writing or speaking to support conclusion. The essential skills and knowledge would be accessing prior knowledge and experiences, examining the title, cover, and illustration, make predictions or ask questions, and also the use of informational text. What I would do with the students first is to take a brief picture walk through the book. We talk about the cover. What do you see on the cover? Maybe ask questions like, who here likes apples? Where do you think apples come from? Do you get your apples at a store? Do you go to a farmer's market? We would then take a picture walk through the book, and we would see the pictures of children eating apples, and maybe talk about why is it in a basket, because most students, I don't think, are finding their apples like this. They usually will find them in the store. See what they recognize of the trees. What do you think happens to the trees when it's snowing? And just go through, point out that there's some, look, there's some text features that we're going to be learning about. While the students are being read the book, I have a vocabulary words sheet for them, so that they can keep an eye while we're reading. How do apples grow? Vocabulary words and important words like buds, apple flower buds, and so on. Stamens, pollen. This way they have a general idea of some of the information that they should be paying attention to while the book is being read to them. This is actually from the 2nd grade Maryland state curriculum. So how do apples grow? When you bite into a juicy apple, you're eating a piece of a flower. Fruit comes from flowers. In winter, an apple tree is bare. They don't have any leaves on them. It's hard to imagine it covered with fruits or flowers. But even in the cold and the snow, tiny leaf buds and flower buds are waiting to open. Inside each leaf bud are tiny curled up leaves. Inside each flower bud are parts of an apple flower. Here's the flower, the bud, and inside that, they said there's tiny leaves all curled up. Apple flowers are pink and white and sweet to smell. Each flower is the beginning of an apple. When spring comes, there are more hours of sunlight. The days are longer and warmer. The leaf buds open. Tiny green leaves appear on each twig. When the apple tree is covered with leaves, the flower buds begin to open. Up close, you can see bunches of small pink and white flowers at the end of each twig. I wonder what's going to happen to those flowers. How are they going to become apples? Maybe give the students an opportunity to give a few ideas. Each flower can become an apple, but all the right things must happen first. An apple flower has many parts, and each has a special job to do. Apple flower buds, sepals, flower petals. The sepals are opening. I wonder what that bee is doing on that apple flower. Around the outside are the sepals. They form little cups to protect the rest of the flower. As the flower blossoms, the sepals open too. The pretty colored petals and sweet flower smell bring many insects and birds to the apple tree. These are animal helpers that are needed for flowers to make the fruit. We'd continue reading the book, and as I've been, and pointing out the different vocabulary words. And at some point I would probably also say, remember, we have our vocabulary book. How are you going to draw that in our vocabulary book? So we'd finish reading the book. Then the students would have an opportunity to go to different centers. At one of the centers, they would have their vocabulary book, where they would have the opportunity to write either buds, draw a picture of the buds, or write a small definition and go through the book. At another center, we have parts of an apple, which is covered later in the book, and they can use the words down here, leaves, skin, stem, flesh, core, seeds, to identify the different parts. At another center, they would have the opportunity to color and cut out and make their own apple book on how an apple grows. And then as part of a science center, I would have the different types of apples that are mentioned in the book sliced up and have each student taste it. They would then vote for which is their favorite. Later in the day, during their math portion of the day, we would draw a picture or a bar graph, which would cover Maryland State Standard for representing and interpreting data. So they would be able to create a bar graph to show which is their favorite. They could do that with pictures or just with colored lines. So maybe the Granny Smith apple favorite would be green, and the Red Delicious would be red, and the Golden Delicious yellow, and so on. As a final project, and something that could potentially be displayed on a bulletin board, I wanted to have them create something, and to really incorporate universal design to allow them to choose their end product. So this is one idea I had seen, was to have them recreate an apple and have this labeled apart: stem, leaf, seed, flesh. They could also do that with the apple flower bud, and label the parts of that. They could choose to talk about how the flowers are pollinated using the insects that are mentioned in the book. They could do something like this with construction paper. They could use clay and make a model. They could do something on the knowledge, raising questions about the world around them, and being willing to seek answers and make careful observations and try things out. So tasting the apples would be trying things out, making observations as to what the texture of the inside of the apple feels like compared to the texture of the seed, and so on. I hope you enjoyed my presentation as much as I enjoyed researching this information. Thank you.